Okay, everyone, we will call this meeting to order. This is the open session of the Orangeville OPP Detachment Board regular meeting on April 22nd, 4 o'clock. So this is our public session. So we need a motion from the board at this time that we move into public session. Done so, Ian. Mr. Maycock, thank you. All in favor of that? Thank you very much. So this time we'd like to do the land acknowledgement. We'd like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territories of the William Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and home to many Indigenous people today. So at this time, I'd like to make a couple of introductions. So our new Zone 5 Police Advisor, Hank Zare, is here. So thank you very much for being here, Mr. Zare. And also, we're quite thrilled, not that we're not thrilled to have you here too, but local celebrity, our new Orangeville Fire Chief, John Schneider, is here. Mr. Schneider, did you want to come up to the microphone and maybe just share a few things about what's going on and in your little world? And just informal, but thank you for being here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm thrilled to be here. I started my employment, I guess, January 7th. So I'm happy to be into my third month in Orangeville. I'm thrilled by the reception I've had from staff and council and everyone across the board and all the firefighters. It's been a great 3 months, to be honest. So everything I was looking for, and I'm happy to maybe contribute a little bit to the success of Orangeville as we move forward. So I've been a first responder for just under 35 years now. So in the fire service. Started as a volunteer in Tottenham, worked in Toronto for 25 years, worked with the government, with the fire marshal's office for 3.5 before I made the trip to Orangeville. I have a deep respect for the police and our allied partners with the paramedics. We work very closely, and I'm thrilled in the Orangeville area that there's such collaboration between the three agencies, and it's so important to provide a valuable service to everyone in the area. And it's been a great welcome. I'll honestly say that not everywhere in the province do the firefighters and the paramedics and the police see eye to eye, but it's been a very receptive and very warm welcome for my time here. With the inspector and with the EMS chief, we've talked frequently and collaborated a lot on different things. Probably at this point, the thing that I'm most proud of is the volunteer work that the police and the firefighters did for their charity game, and they were able to raise about $13,000. For the food bank and for Dufferin Child Services. I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm a very collaborative person. I like to work with everybody that's interested in making our community safe, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight. And I'm open to any suggestions. I'd like to be embedded in this community as much as possible. I have an offer in on a home right now, so hopefully we can get that sealed away shortly, and I'll be in and around the community as much as possible. So again, thank you for the invite, and happy if there's any questions, but really just wanted to say hi.
That's great. Thanks so much, Chief Schneider. Board members, any questions for our chief? No, not this time. Just out of curiosity, how have you found Orangeville in terms of fire so far? And is there a couple of priorities, short-term, medium-term, that you could share with us that you're focused on?
Orangeville's a very busy department. Last year, we had a record number of calls, just over 1,800. So that's fairly busy for a community our size. Many likely know we do provide fire protection services to Mono and to Amaranth and to East Scariffraxa. But Orangeville is certainly our bread and butter there. Fingers crossed, knocking on wood, we've been fairly lucky from a fire situation. So far this year, we've had a number of very close calls. We have a lot more work to do on the public education and the fire prevention side of it, where we can be more proactive. We've had a handful of calls where we're very lucky that they were caught early or occurred during the daytime hours where someone was awake. We're going to continue to push hard on those two sides, the public education and the fire prevention and inspection. Great group of firefighters. They work very hard. They're very dedicated to the community. We have 25 full-time members and about 30 volunteers. So we have a very good complement in this department. They work very well together, and it fits the needs of the community right now.
Just out of curiosity, how will you do that with the public information process? Like how will you get that out? Is that a social media thing? Are you going to go door to door, or is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate. So in the province, the fire marshal's office looks at it as 3 steps: is the public fire safety education, enforcement and inspection, and then when those 2 things don't work, we have the fire suppression. So it's just a fact. We have 3 in our fire prevention division right now. 1 focuses on public education, and that would be community events. They're at the home show, answering questions. We're looking at really targeting our fire safety messaging. I think in the province, we've tried very generic messaging where we kind of throw it against the wall and hope it sticks. The message is not getting through to some people, and we're going to start targeting the vulnerable communities and different populations, new people to our country. One great avenue is always through the children, and we do school visits, and the kids take home the message and make mom and dad follow up and check their smoke alarms. So we're just going to work to target it a little bit more and not kind of have the big throw it against the wall idea, and just look at those opportunities to leverage that.
That's great. One last one, if I could. Last year, you ran this amazing training program where there was folks that came from around the province and were working in the back area of the fire hall, basically simulating fire testing and whatnot. It was fascinating. The mayor and I got to attend with some other councillors and see what was happening. Is that something that's an annual thing, or was that just you'll do it again this year?
When the province closed their centralized fire college in Gravenhurst, lots of negative feedback, understandably, but in the fire marshal's office, they purchased 2 mobile live fire training units that are 53-foot trailers, and it brought training to all corners of the province. So instead of having to travel to Gravenhurst, we were able to, in Orangeville's case, to park this trailer out back of the fire hall, invite the local fire services into it, and we're now providing live fire training to many firefighters who can never access that. They either couldn't travel, if they're volunteer, they couldn't take a week of vacation to go to Gravenhurst, family commitments. Now they could do a Tuesday night and come and get some very valuable training. So we, this year, the trailer is going to Shelburne. So we're going to move it in Dufferin to be a little bit more central, but Orangeville firefighters are going to be there for 2 days to take advantage of it. And again, we work very well with our partners in the fire community around us.
That's amazing. And will the public be invited to see this too?
Absolutely. If you'd like an invite, we'd be happy to invite you up.
I think we would, right? If we could.
For sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great learning tool from many perspectives, not just for firefighters.
Member McSweeney, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just something you said at the end there. So can you just comment on the degree of cooperation within Dufferin and the various firefighting organizations within Dufferin County, Mono and
yeah, so yeah, for sure. We have a great regional mutual aid program, very proactive group, and we're close, obviously, to Shelburne and Grand Valley. A little bit further north, it's a little more rural. They, they don't have the same call volume, but between Grand Valley, Shelburne, and Orangeville, for sure, we work very closely. We know that when there's a fire and we call for help, they will come and help us if it's needed. And it's a great collaboration. We have monthly meetings with the group. We're coordinating on training. We're coordinating on technical rescues, where it just doesn't make sense for 9 fire departments to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars each. We're trying to work together to regionalize, the training and the technical rescue and all the services we provide. We're obviously on the border with Caledon. Same thing. It's not Dufferin County, but we work very closely with them and butt up against them all the time. And the fire services continue to progress. There used to be some little kingdoms and fiefdoms that existed, and nobody wanted other people in their borders. We can't provide a quality service without leveraging the support of our neighbors, and it's very good in this area.
That's great. Did you have a follow-up, Member McSweeney? No? Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Chief Steiner, for being here. Honestly, we're grateful that you've decided to come to Orangeville, and thank you for being here with us tonight. It's much
Thanks so much.
Okay. It's question period time. Jerry, is there anyone on the line for question period? No? Okay, very good. I don't think there's anything to report from in-camera session, so we'll move on to items for discussions and reports. So this is item 11.1, and it's an update on the Zina Courthouse, and this will be a verbal presentation. So I did have Inspector, I'll give you my understanding where we are, and then maybe you can provide some color commentary that I may miss here. But originally, the OPP had approached to see if there was additional room at the Zina Courthouse for the officers that work there. There was room. The OPP were offered the 3rd floor of the Zina Street Courthouse. It was determined at that time that it was too large by the OPP, and there would have to be a rental agreement in place. And it was also determined by the OPP that that would be too costly. The OPP did reach out again last month, and Inspector, I'm not sure of who would be leading that on behalf of your team, but they inquired about additional space and working on an MOU that could be executed. The county is interested in pursuing this together, so we'll see how that will dovetail together. At this time, the 3rd floor of the building is no longer available because the county has decided to repurpose that for county use. There's some things going on between the 2 buildings. And so we'll see what next steps are. Inspector, did you have anything further to add to that at this time?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you, sir. Last time I checked, our facilities group was reaching into the county to say that we were interested to use the space. And that's the only update I have. And that was about as recently as 6 weeks ago.
Okay, so you wouldn't be aware of who from your team was following up about a possible MOU, or you are? You do know who that is?
I do know the name. It's someone within our facilities side corporately.
Okay.
So,
okay,
but
great.
last we had indicated that we were interested in using it.
Okay, wonderful. So that is the update on this. Any board members have questions or comments on the situation? No? Seeing none, can I have a motion to receive item 11.1? Jacqueline, thank you. Mayor Post, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much, everyone. So 11.2, we did have Mayor Post is running town hall meetings on a regular basis, and we had a celebrity guest at the last event, and that was Inspector DePasquale. So I guess between the 2 of you, did you want to give a little update on that event, Mayor Post and Inspector?
I can go first just briefly. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Inspector DePasquale for always coming to the town hall meetings when I ask you to, and providing updates on what the OPP is working towards. We chose this last meeting to have the OPP present because as we head into spring, we always have enhanced traffic concerns, particularly with speeding, school times let out and all of those things, kids playing in the streets in the summer, and the safety around neighborhoods that way, but also modified mufflers and to be able to talk about that. So Inspector did a great job talking about some of the great important initiatives that the OPP are working towards, and had some great conversations with the community.
Wonderful. Inspector, did you want to offer any thoughts or?
Thank you, Your Worship, and it's a pleasure to participate in these town halls. So thanks very much for the opportunity again. Just to echo what Her Worship had said, I had the opportunity of just advising everybody who attended, for those who attended virtually. We're in the last year of our 2023-2025 action plan. So just a quick overview of our crime, traffic, and community well-being components, and then fielded some questions from the group, but some terrific engagement, and thanks again for the opportunity.
That's great. Any comments or questions from the board at this time? No, seeing none, can I have a motion to receive this report? Jacqueline and Grant, thank you, sir. All in favor? Yes, very good. So the next item is 11.3, and the brief update that I would give you is that on February 26th, there was a patrol that occurred at our LCBO in town. And at that time, there was a 70% decrease in thefts versus prior year due to the increased patrols. So kudos to you and your team, Inspector. And did you want to comment further on that initiative, sir?
Yeah, no, thanks, sir. We did conduct a focus patrol over a 2-week period. So focus patrol is providing increased police presence, enforcement through the use of data. We've got an excellent working relationship with the LCBO in sharing our data. And so during that 2-week period, we did see a decrease of 70% of thefts. So great job to our officers, and thank you to LCBO for their collaboration. And of course, a thank you to the community, because we can't do this alone through enforcement. And so again, thank you to the residents in Orangeville for all their support as always.
That's great. Thank you so much, Inspector. Board members, any comments or questions? No, seeing none. Can I have a motion to receive this report? Grant and Warren, thank you. All in favor? Very good. So this brings us on to item 11.4. It's on page 10 of the documentation that we have. Mayor Post, I guess I'll turn it over to you to do so. I would just love to say up front, it's the most articulate letter and really well done on your part. So thank you very much for doing this, and I'll turn the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Chair Taylor. Not a lot really to add. I did get a response back from the OPP Commissioner's office just recently that I did not have a chance to send, and I can send that ahead for next board. I will also be replying to the letter because I don't feel like I got quite a satisfactory response to what my concerns were. So I hope to push with the Commissioner's office that there are some other components that I think need to be done to just ensure that we can say to our community that the 911 system is working the way that it's intended to. Sitting with Mr. Meadows through, his story on what had happened and the home invasion, it was heart-wrenching to hear what his family went through, and we don't ever want another family to go through the same experience he did. So there is some education that I know the OPP is putting out about, what to do if you call 911 and there's a prompted message asking you to hold, to stay on the line, don't hang up, those kinds of things, because it does interfere with the queue. So I know that's part of what the OPP is doing for the public education component, but I'll be happy to answer any questions and share the future letters as well to the board.
Okay. Maybe I'll turn to the inspector first. Inspector, did you want to comment on this at all? And I'm not setting you up here. You don't need to, but
no, I'll just leave it at to what Her Worship had indicated. And thank you, Your Worship, for all of your support as well.
That's great. Board members, any comments or questions? Member McSweeney.
So just to clarify, my takeaway from this is that this was not a problem that that was created by the OPP response. It was a 911 intake problem. And once the information did get to the OPP, the response was very quick.
Yeah. Mayor Post, did you want to elaborate?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So the process right now when you call 911 is Northern 911 is who actually answers our calls. And they're the ones who say police, fire, ambulance. Once that's been determined that it's a police call, it then goes to the OPP communication center. So Northern 911 picked up quickly. The transfer was made to the OPP's communications, and that's where there was an issue. Once there was finally a dispatch that happened from the OPP communication center to our local detachment, response happened in minutes. The officer was at their door within less than 3 minutes, I believe, Inspector, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's right. It was under 3 minutes from the time that our detachment received that notification to the time that the officers were on site. So the officers are doing an amazing job in our community.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Mayor Post. Any further comments or questions, board members? Seeing none at this time, can I have a motion to receive item 11.4? Member McSweeney, Grant, thank you very much. All in favor? Yes. Okay, 11.5, a small verbal report. I guess the verbal report would be, there's a great summary here in the agenda. Bylaw is aware of the repeat offenders and follows up with each of them. I did discuss with Bylaw this morning. All of the repeat offenders have been fined. So that has happened, and Bylaw is tracking to understand the payment history as well to make sure that they're going to be submitting for their fines that are there, and that will be the process moving forward as well. And Mary Lou, if I could, just kudos to you. Thank you for summarizing and drawing out the names. It makes the report so much easier to read and grasp. But that's where we are on this initiative. Any comments or questions? Member McSweeney.
So just on the agenda, we've indicated that we wanted to have a discussion about the future process for reporting false alarm. I think we were talking about taking it off the agenda unless there's a reason to put it back on. There's some, subjective reason for doing it, but otherwise, I don't think we need to report on it.
Yeah, if I could, I think the only reason to report on it would be curiosity at this point, but there's processes in place. We're not needed any longer. It's flowing the way it's supposed to flow. So I'd be with you. I don't think we need to do that. Grant, did you want to weigh in?
So what entity is going to have oversight on it? Is it this, or is it will be the town having? Because we can, I don't want to lose the oversight of it. So if the
Yeah.
town's doing it, then I'm perfectly in agreement to move it off of ours.
Bylaw has it, and then the follow-up that I just gave you says that they're following both. A, they're fining, and B, they're tracking to make sure they're going to be paid for the fines. So I think we're good here. So, oh, Mary Lou, go ahead, please. I think that would be a good practice. Okay, thank you very much. I don't think we need any other comments or questions at this time on this. No? A motion to receive the report then? Member McSweeney, Member Maycock, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. Okay, 11.6, board member ride-alongs with OPP. Basically, I put this on here in all honesty was because it's difficult to coordinate. And so what I wanted to do here is just have a brief open session. The idea here is if anybody's watching from the public, a ride along allows board members to have a better understanding of what the OPP officers go through on a regular basis. I think, Warren, if you've probably not with OPP, but you would have done, I imagine, with OPS, correct?
Yes, I have in the past, and it's well worthwhile.
Yeah.
And when the email was sent around, I think we were to contact somebody, and I did respond, but I haven't heard anything back yet.
Okay. And so that person, my understanding, Inspector, is Staff Sergeant Kiamos. Am I saying that correctly?
That's correct. Kiamos, please.
Okay. And is that who you contacted? KIA? Yeah. Okay. Inspector, is there a follow-up there for you? Could you let them know that Member Maycock has reached out, and or what would you prefer? Would you prefer?
You know what, sir, perhaps we can talk about this offline, Member Maycock, and we can discuss further.
Okay. I know that the three of us, Mayor Post, Member McSweeney, and myself have done it, but Grant and Jacqueline, I would encourage you to reach out as well. It's a great learning session and something good to do.
So I've been in contact with the staff sergeant, just sorting out dates and times and that.
Okay,
So
great.
gave a
Okay,
three
wonderful.
options, and that just that was more waiting on me. Gave her my schedule and just waiting for her to get back, and that was as of yesterday. So looking
Okay.
forward to it.
Okay. When I was on mine, just as feedback, they put it in my hands to determine whether or not someone should get a ticket, and I said no every time. So I am the worst person to. Yeah, I'm a terrible police officer. Too much.
When I was there, we pulled somebody over, and as the police officer exited to interview the driver, he said, "If I don't come back, the shotgun's back there." It was a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. We got that. Okay, so we'll probably strike that from the record. Thank you, Member McSweeney. But we'll leave this up to each individual person to follow up, and it sounds like that's being done. So motion to receive the 11.6 if we could. Jacqueline, if we could. Yep. Grant, thank you very much. All in favor? Yes. Okay, and then the same thing, candidly, 11.7 is about herding cats, if I could. So the inspector has put out the idea that the board could attend and have a detachment tour and potentially a meeting at Primrose or at Orangeville. We just didn't seem to be able to coordinate this. I guess the question is the board in favor of doing that? And if we could, would we just do it May 20th? Yeah. Well, Inspector, maybe you could provide guidance. Could we have a board meeting there as well, or would that not be a good spend?
For May 20th, I don't see how that would be a problem. In fact, I think that could work out just fine.
Okay. And board members, is Mayor Post, you want to weigh in?
My only concern is that if we have our board meeting at the detachment, we won't be able to broadcast our meeting. So there won't be that public engagement component. So my thought would be that if we could do a tour ahead of our closed session and maybe do it at 3:00, come here for our closed session at 4, and then have our board meeting following that so that we can keep it tight all in the same day. I think that would be a good use of time, or we can head over there after our meeting if that's better for people's timing, or don't have a closed session or put our closed session at the end of the meeting and still do it at 4, but meet over there. But I think that we would struggle because we won't be able to have the public component.
Yeah.
Your worship, just as a thought to that, we do have an OWL system, if that's helpful for the engagement piece as well. It would be hosted in our community room, so it could be open to anybody, but I leave it in your hands.
As another idea, I saw a grimace from my fellow busy individual down at the other end. We could just have a tour and meeting on a different night. That would work for the board, and maybe what we could do is put out a doodle poll, and and see if that would work, and if we could coordinate an evening where we could go and have a Primrose or Orangeville tour, and then have our meeting as we would normally do so. Grant, is that something that would work out better for you and your schedule, or?
Yeah, I appreciate
For you
that
too?
ability, but as we encroach earlier in the day, especially with only about 60 days notice, tougher to rearrange schedules.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So not to make it overly complicated, but we'll get to this under 11.23, but we could also have a joint Dufferin board meeting, and in conjunction with that, do the tour. I know we talked about that too. That may be more
Sign it
complicated.
by email offline.
Yeah, okay. Can we coordinate, Mary Lou, my suggestion is, can we coordinate with the inspector on a few dates that would work for him and his team? And then we'll take those dates and send them out to the board through a poll and see what works. Does that make sense to you, or do you have a better suggestion? I think. Yeah, if we could, like, as a suggestion, perhaps 5 or 6 o'clock, and are you nodding your head at me? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, or as having flexibility. It's just
Is that good for you?
Thursdays and Fridays are usually a lot easier, especially with some return to work for people.
Okay. Inspector, would that work if Mary Lou just reached out and you gave a few dates, and we'll figure this
That
out? I'm pushing it
would
because I think it's a great initiative that we all do that, and it's been some time since I've been there too. You know, we've been here. Yeah, okay, very good. So we've got our follow-ups for that. I guess we need to receive that update then, that what we're going to do. Jacqueline, did you want to make that motion? Are you excited to make that? Okay. Okay, and a seconder. Warren, you're going to do that. Thank you, sir. All in favor? Yes. Okay. So that takes care of that. We're on to 11.8. This is the MCERT and CSP grants. So just as everybody's aware, Mobile Crisis Response Team is the MCERT. Much work and time has been put forth by Mary Lou on this. Mary Lou, we put forward the CSP Community Safety and Policing grant today. It was received and signed today. There's more work to do on the other grants. Did you want to update the team on those at this point in time, or?
Yes.
The red one.
Okay.
There we go.
So Sergeant Pencarina and I just completed the third year report on the Community Safety and Policing Grant. So now we're tasked with completing a new application for the Community Safety and Policing Grant. We're going to be meeting tomorrow to work on that. What's changed is now there can only be one grant for the detachment catchment area. So Shelburne is also interested in being a stakeholder in this grant, and one municipality has to be the lead and submit it through their TPON, which is how the money is transferred. So Orangeville will be the lead on this. So we'll be working on that as well. We were successful on the mobile crisis response grant last year, and so we have to do a year-end report on it as well. So we've got the CSP grant 3-year report done, and we're working on the CSP grant application for the next year, as well as the insert 1-year final report.
Very good.
They're all due at the end of this month.
Yeah, lots of work. Yeah, thank you very much for all you're doing. And I read the one report today. It's so succinct. So appreciate that very much and the work that you're doing. Comments or questions from the board? Member McSweeney.
I just wanted to reinforce that, I mean, Mary Lou is a treasure that we have that others don't have.
Yes.
And her involvement with the grant process is kind of unique for that reason. And she's very generous sharing that expertise with other agencies as well. So yeah, we are very, very fortunate. Even though we've got a policy that's tried to capture her expertise to institutionalize it, there's no substitute for what she's doing.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Motion to receive that information today. Mayor Post, Grant, thank you very much. All in favor? Yes. Jacqueline, you said yes. Okay, we are on to 11.9, which is Zone 5 meeting, recap and the next meeting. And my understanding is there's been some difficulty in getting these meetings up and running because of changes within the system. So I'll turn it over to yourself and Member McSweeney to chat about this item.
So I don't think any of us went to the last. Oh, you did. Oh, Lisa. So that's the next item. So Lisa, if you can just hold for oh no, wait a minute. No, it's this one. Yep.
Oh, so
we can get that report. Yeah, I just wanted to say that the next meeting is June 10th, and that's when the executive will be elected.
okay. So Mayor Post, did you want to give a brief summary of what you?
I can give a very brief summary. The meeting didn't cover a whole ton that would be relevant to the board. They did talk a little bit about the upcoming conference. There was discussion about some additional training modules that are being developed currently that we can anticipate coming to us soon. The additional conversation that I found really interesting was about the work and advocacy that's being done right now to create a central intake area for officers to help improve some of our ability to recruit new officers so that, you know, new recruits who are applying to Peel Regional Police or Toronto Police will have one intake spot where they would also be applying to the OPP. So I thought that was interesting, and hopefully we'll see that coming up soon. That was pretty much it, and that June 10th is their next meeting.
Okay. And June 10th, if I may, board members, who's attending that? Are you going to go?
No. I will go. No, I will.
No, you will
yep,
go.
it's in my
Okay.
calendar.
So,
But anyone else?
Jacqueline, is that for you as well?
It's normally starts in the morning and then ends before noon. And then there's lunch.
Okay, so yes, I will attend that one.
Okay. That's great.
Yep.
So if we could make note for the next report that we'll have the two of you share what happened in that meeting. It's okay? Okay. So motion to receive that, if you could. Jacqueline's got her hand up, and Warren, thank you, sir. All in favor? Yes. Okay, so 11:10 is the Zone 5 membership renewal. And again, a wonderful verbal update from the chair. Just to me, it's effective governments. To me, we have to have this. They offer training, legislation, priorities, objectives. I made the general decision that we would continue to do this. We signed up, I signed off. The check amount was $250, so we're in. But it's more of an inform, and apologize I didn't ask for permission, but such a minor thing. Grant, please.
My information is the Zone 5 membership different than the overall OAPSB membership?
Ian, did you want to give a little bit of a?
So I forget the number. The OAPSB is divided into, Hank, 6 zones, I think. 7? 6. And we're Zone 5. It's regional. And those zones are made up of OPP, municipal police forces, like everybody really represented. And yeah, and so each zone is responsible for its own regional meetings, and the members of those zones, some of which are not I'm just trying to think, I think mostly it's attended by OAPSB members, but not every police service board or OPP detachment board is necessarily a member of the OAPSB. So it, I don't know what the coverage is, but it's something less than 100%.
Okay. Very good.
So
Grant, please go ahead.
just a question on that, like, so looking at the budget as well. So we have that, and then the other one is billed at 21 cents a property. Are we budgeted for these? Like the 259 issue, but as part of the bigger membership as well, have we actually put budget aside for those?
We do. Yeah. It's in that,
Okay.
in that document.
Okay.
Yeah. You're right. It's pennies.
Well, how many properties do we have in Orangeville?
13,500, something like that.
So it's about a $3,000.
Is it that long?
Sorry, how many?
Oh, we're disagreeing on the number. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
guess
it's
that
about a
makes sense. It'd be a
$2,500
household,
bill.
right? Yeah, 30,000 people. Okay, motion to receive the membership renewal. Warren, thank you. Jacqueline, thank you. All in favor? Yes. Okay, so 11.1 is the Community Awareness Initiative, and this is something that Mayor Post, Jacqueline, you're both kind of leading, so I'll turn the floor over to one of the two of you for an update.
Yeah, I think we'll bring the plan for, the plan is to bring the plan for approval on the May 20th meeting, the next meeting. I was looking for a little bit of clarity, which we sort of received today, on how the plan, the output of the plan would be intended to inform the board and support OPP activities. I think we received that today, so we'll be able to tie it off and present it at the next meeting.
So we would leave this on the agenda as we see it here now for May 20th?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, good. Are you not in agreement with
No,
that?
I think so.
Okay, you give me great confidence there. Okay, recommendation, we'll receive this information and we'll add it to the May 20th agenda. Grant, thank you. Ian seconded it. All in favor? Very good. 11.12 is claims for special remuneration and expenses. Page 13 is where all the details and charges for the expenses are. I don't think there's much to add unless people have specific questions. So board members, is there anything you're concerned about on the expenses that were given? Member McSweeney? You're
Just, I mean, it's later on too, but am I the only one going to the spring conference?
there was, so
I think Grant indicated.
I think you're jumping
in
ahead.
London.
It's in here
Yeah,
later
okay.
on.
Sorry, I apologize for that.
Okay.
Apologize for that.
Why don't we stay where we are? So no comments or questions on the expenses that are in here. Motion to receive. Warren and Grant, thank you both. All in favor? Yes. Okay, so 11.13 is an update on the action registrar and work plan. It's on page 14 of the notes. And Grant and Ian, I'll turn it over to you to lead the discussion.
So I think the policy is in good shape. Grant's reviewed it as well. I think all that's left to be done, and Grant's on top of it, is to populate the work plan and the action register with the necessary items, and that will be, I understand, presented at our next meeting.
Grant, are you in alignment with that?
What he said.
Okay, very good. So we progress that nicely. Any comments or questions from the other board members? Seeing none, all in favor of that? Yes, sir, I'll need a motion first. So I'll go Warren and Grant. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Mary Lou, did you get that? I apologize. It was a little out of sync there. So that's great. So 11.14, it is on page 24 and 25, and it is the meeting service standards per board policy. To me, all areas and timelines are met. Mary Lou, did you agree with that statement I just made? Are you comfortable with my commentary?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And I do love that for each meeting, and it just helps keep us all engaged with what we've got to do. And so the thing that we've done for next time, Mary Lou, is we'll just invite Warren to the pre-meeting if we could, and we'll go from there. Okay, so a motion to receive that potential documentation, or that documentation. Member McSweeney. Jacqueline looks like she wants to do that. So all in favor? Yes, thank you, everyone.
I can take this, Todd.
Pardon me?
I can take this.
Okay. So 11:15, Ian, you're going to speak to I, J, and T in terms of the governance?
So just quickly, these are the final three policies that we've updated to reflect a couple of things. I've amended two of those policies to reflect Todd's. It's actually an 11-point plan, not a 10-point plan, but it's an
Okay.
11-point plan, but we'll get to that later. So I just thought that it should be the points that are in that guidelines should be embedded in our policies where required. So I've done that. I also updated the general service standards policy in conjunction with Grant to make sure that that was all up to speed. And I wanted the board to see those three policies, bless them. They're all now marked as having been amended and approved April 22nd. So
Okay.
all we have to do is
So
approve them.
I've read them, but just as a general thought, I know there was conversation about just a little bit more of a check that you were going to do.
Yeah.
Member Weatherby. So based on that, would we push and wait? Or how would we go about this?
I think we should approve it so that we've got a set of documents as at April 22nd. And then we were talking, I think offline, Mr. Chair, that Mary Lou is going to work to make sure that each board member has a complete and final set of our governance documents electronically and to use until we get them posted on our website, which won't be for some time.
But are you trying to make I'm trying to tie it up, and are you making a motion? So the motion would be then that we would ask Mary Lou to put that out, send it out to the board members. Out of that, Member Weatherby is going to provide her expertise back, which will do a final review on May 20th.
I don't think we've had that as a motion. I think the only motion that I thought was before us here was just approving those three policies.
And leave it, but then how do we make sure that we've captured the next steps?
We can do that as a second motion if you wanted to
Sure.
talk about exactly what. I'm not sure exactly. I can frame it if you'd like. Let's do this first, and then I'll frame another motion
Okay.
right afterwards.
So you want to make the motion that we receive the update
Right.
here now? Okay. Yeah, Grant, please go ahead.
It's just a question. Are we looking to make more revisions to these afterwards? Is that,
It's potentially, right? Jacqueline, did you want to weigh?
I don't think so. I think, like, I have read these in advance of the meeting today. I think that there's a layer on top of it that articulates what the responsibilities of the board are that are employed by this policy and how we would operationalize it in the meetings that we might want to look at as a group.
I mean,
So I don't think it changes. I would be fine with approving them as they are today, having this offline consultation to discuss how we operationalize it as a board, and then coming back with that as a sort of management discussion for the board, not necessarily a change.
but even today, I mean, if we approve them today, any member at any time can make a recommendation to change any
Of
policy.
course.
Correct.
So I mean, we approve of is that if you at some later
That's
date
right.
say we need to make edits, it's just a new motion that would take on from that moment there.
I think that's
That
right.
we'll deal with in
Okay.
May.
And there's no reason to live without them if they're,
They've been operating drafts to the extent that some were drafts and some
Yeah.
were not for quite a while. So
Okay.
But for some discussion then, just I mean, with the motion on the table, that my question is like, because I didn't see anything issue with them, but do you see potential problems that should avoid us voting for these now, or are they more administrative implementations?
No. I don't.
and it's sort of,
Yeah.
let me just articulate what, I mean, we can do this motion or we don't have to, but I think what Jacqueline was talking about is a review by Warren and Jacqueline and me of the whole governance of all the government's documents, the governing memo, the policies, the bylaws, everything. Sort of step back, look at it now and see what, if any, recommendations might be made with respect to better operationalizing
That's right.
the governance
That's
structure.
well articulated. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've attempted to do that through our general service standards, but recognizing that there's room for improvement always.
Yeah. So as an
Okay.
example, we've talked a lot about items that are on public or in camera agenda items. and where they should be and shouldn't be discussed, right? So how would we operationalize those topics through the governance structure that's outlined in these policies is what I'm
And
curious
I
about.
think when you start drilling down with specific points, I think you'll see it's all covered,
Okay.
but maybe it could be better covered.
Well, and if it's all covered, wonderful, then we need to make sure we all have read it, understood it, and are operationalizing it.
Well, and that's,
Yeah.
you really
That
hit,
accountability.
you really hit on the whole issue, right? Having a set of documents that we feel comfortable about the moment we approve them, put them on the shelf and don't
Right.
look at them again. I mean, that's only half the battle.
Yeah.
What we have to do is live and breathe them and operationalize them. And that's what our general service standards and the work plan and the schedule
Should address.
are intended to address.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
think that, transparently, the complaint process that we discussed earlier is a very good example of this. There's new-ish rules on how these are to be managed. Does the board understand those accountabilities, and are we set to operationalize them when we either individually or as a board receive complaints?
100%, we have a policy
So
on
that's
it,
our
but we
responsibility.
have to pick up the policy and read it and follow it.
Exactly.
So we have the documents. We just need to make sure that we follow them.
Perfect. So on this, then we have a motion on the floor from Member McSweeney, right? Are you hesitant? How did you?
I'm hesitant that you're going to make me repeat what it is. Yes, Mary Lou, you've got it.
Well,
I can repeat it, but
I think the motion is that the board's going to receive these three policies, approve them and receive them. So D3I, D3J, and D3T. That's the first motion on the table.
That's where I was going as well.
Okay.
And then there'd be a secondary motion that you have not necessarily fully articulated.
I can do it again.
Okay,
It's what's going to happen. We can.
okay. So
You wanna
let's approve,
approve
we're going to receive as we are. So we have a motion on the floor. I'm looking for a seconder. Grant, thank you. All in favor? Yes.
And when we
Okay,
do the
Member
minutes,
McSweeney.
the minutes will reflect the discussion of what's going to happen. I don't think we need to have a motion on it.
That's fine. Okay, very good. So then, if that's the case, then we can move on to 1116. And 1116 is a verbal report. So what has happened with this is this has gone on to the town of Orangeville, and basically Mary Lou has met with the town of Orangeville staff as of April 15th. Since then, the training session for Mary Lou and Jacqueline, I guess you're going to go as well. That's great. That will be set and done prior to the May board meeting. And it looks like, my understanding is from discussions, is that we may have an even easier solution to the searchable PDF file. So that could be quite exciting in terms of time-saving initiatives as well. And that'll be unveiled to the two of you when you're in the training session. So we're in good shape on this as we go forward. Did either of you have any comments or?
It was Jacqueline, the general manager's EA, not Jacqueline.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I was thinking that was so exciting that you were going to be involved in that. Okay, yeah. Well, we can send Jacqueline and Mary Lou then. That would be good. Okay, my apologies. I was so close with that. So are you good otherwise, Mary Lou?
Yes, we're going to meet early May and look at some solutions to get all those policies on the website
Okay.
the most efficient and effective way.
They sound like they're quite optimistic that they've got an even easier way.
Yeah, the deputy clerk is going to weigh in on it as well. She had some thoughts on it as well. So the
Okay.
three of us are going to meet.
Wonderful. Any comments or questions from the board? We have a motion to receive then. Grant, thank you. Mayor Post, thank you. All in favor? Yes. So 1117, it's just an update basically on the detachment commander's performance evaluation. We still have not received anything at this time. I don't know, Inspector or Mr. Zaire, did you want to weigh in on where we are with the evaluations for inspectors? You have nothing? Okay. Inspector, you haven't heard anything either, I would imagine?
Correct. Still waiting for corporate approval.
Yeah. Okay. Member McSweeney?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this again in May, and I think we should. I mean, I don't know how long we should wait for the OPP to update their form. I kind of think our policies do put a deadline on it of March 31. It's not a legislated deadline, but I feel like we really should be putting together at least, I mean, I don't know how different the OPP generated template will be for the detachment commander review, but I suspect it'll contain much of the same information as the one that we've developed. I kind of think we should, start to populate it.
So if I could, Member McSweeney, what you're saying is that the similar one to the one we did for Mary Lou, we would do for the inspector?
Well, once again, we have a policy on this, and attached to the policy is a template for the detachment commander's performance review. And it's quite a good one, I think.
Yeah.
It was one that was in use prior to the CSPA. And this issue seems to have disappeared into a black hole.
Yeah.
So I kind of,
we're going to lose the time.
I would prefer that we circulate that performance review template to board members and canvass board members for their comments, and then we can talk about where it goes from there, but I think between now and May, I think we should at least collect some comments and information.
So what we could do, if the board is, I'll just give my thoughts, Warren, and then I'll turn to you. But I think we could get it sent out. I totally agree with that. We could get feedback from board members. I could consolidate it and have that ready in a closed session for folks to review. And we would do that without the inspector as we're getting ready prior to sharing it with them. But I agree, we're going to lose the year. Like, it's halfway through the next year, and we were supposed to do this really Feb, right? Is when we would have got at it. So, Warren, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I just wanted to concur with that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, Mary Lou, as a follow-up, could we ask you to do that, or would you prefer something different, or all we need to do is send out the document?
Yes, I'll send that out.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that, I guess the recommendation is the document gets sent out, board members to weigh in, and the chair to consolidate, and it to be reviewed at the May 20th closed meeting. Okay? Yep. So that, I guess I can make that as the motion. Anybody second it? Member McSweeney, thank you. All in favor? Very good. Thank you, everyone. And so we move on to 11:18, and it's just a quick update on the International Women's Day. My understanding is about $100,000 was raised at Hockley Valley. Tracy Moore from City Line was the speaker that day. I'd never heard of her, but she won me over. She was excellent. I know I sound like a fool for not knowing who this individual was, but she's not on BNN and she's not on CBC, so I have no idea who she is. It would be great as a thought, as the chair, if we went back and bought a table as a board for next year. I tried to determine when that was. It basically looks like it's Sunday, March 8th, which I can't imagine they would have on a Sunday. So it's probably the Friday prior to that. Yeah. So it would be March 6th. I don't know if there's a way to do that and have people put it in their calendars now as a thought, but council had one, but it would be great if we did do a police services board table previously, and I thought it was a great initiative. We had the inspector come and he brought his staff sergeant at the time. And it's just a nice way to have some unity amongst the board. Yep, Mayor Post.
Could you, as the chair, potentially reach out to FTP and see what their plans are for next year and then send it out to the board appropriately?
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. So Chair Taylor to look into this is the follow-up. Okay, Mayor Post, do you want to make that motion then? Yeah, Mayor Post is a seconder. Jacqueline, thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you, everyone. Just making a note. Myself. That moves us on to 11:19, the OASB Spring Conference. It's in June in London. I guess the questions for me is who is attending? And there was some commentary about a budget review, and I'd sent out that template to see where we were financially. So Member McSweeney, my understanding is you are going, and then I think Member Maycock, you were potentially going.
I was interested in going. I didn't realize we were supposed to book it ourselves. And in the meantime,
It's filled in on you?
yes, unfortunately, but
Okay. No problem. Was,
And I was the other, I've had a work commitment come up that I can't,
okay.
I'll be in another province, unfortunately.
Okay. So Member McSweeney, you'll be our representative. That's great. Thank you so much for doing that.
so just for clarification, so from now on, if we book our own conferences and stuff. Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, we'll come to that, Member Maycock, if we could. So, okay, so recommendation is that Member McSweeney will attend on behalf of the board. Can I have a motion to do that? Grant, thank you. Warren, thank you. All in favor? Excuse me. Yes. And we're going to get to that too. So this is an update on the community safety and well-being plan. Feedback was required by April 15th. It came out very quickly. I apologize. I got just a little bit. This report came out very quickly. We got an April 4th email, and I was actually away on holidays. So kudos to Mary Lou and Ian for weighing in and giving the feedback. If you didn't have a chance to see what the feedback was, is this document covers off community safety, housing and homelessness, mental health care and well-being, family support, and food insecurity. The feedback that was given on the board, and I'll just do a brief summary, and Ian and Mary Lou if you want to weigh in afterwards, but it was essentially along the lines of utilize DCAFs here in town. Mental health, welfare, behavior support are the things that they offer. Notwithstanding clause was brought up, and maybe you want to elaborate on that. And then the data collection difficulties, so utilizing MCERT, Headwaters, and other agencies. That is a rough summary. Member McSweeney, did you want to share is there anything else in here that you think was missed? And thank you again for acting so quickly and getting back to these people with our feedback and support.
So I think its next stop on its road to finalization is with county. So those of, I think you and Lisa are on county council. You'll have an opportunity to give further input and figure out where it's going from there. But it is a very tight timeline. And you recall, and I think in November, there was, I forget what they called it. I want to say a town hall, but it wasn't. It was like a think tank session that was held in Menora Park, I think, or one of the buildings there. And so that was like the initial information gathering initiative. And you know, from the draft plan, you can tell that there's been a lot of consultation and a lot of input obtained from a variety of sources within the community. So it wasn't a surprise. It was just the timing of the comments from us back to them that was a bit jammed. But it was, I thought it was overall, it was very well put together.
Yeah, you even corrected some grammar for them. So kudos to you for doing that.
That was just so Lisa would be able to know that I read it.
Yeah, well, I read your commentary, so there you go. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for doing that again. Motion to receive this information. Grant, thank you. Mayor Post, I saw your hand. All in favor? Very good. 1121 is a budget review. My apologies, full on. I did a great job of getting myself ready to go on holidays, and then I just had to let it go. So I jammed everybody with that report today in your email, but it is an update for the quarter. If you didn't get a chance, we can push it and we can even get a further update for the next meeting, but you do have it in your email. I went through it again. There's nothing in there that's of concern to me. So I don't know. I'll leave it at the board. What do you want to do? Mayor Post, did you have thoughts?
No, I'm happy with it exactly how it is. I have no comments.
Okay. Right. Yeah, Grant, please go ahead.
Just more of a question. So things like, so per diems, travel and things like that, where does that fit on here? Like I see $1,000 for mileage, but you know, we're sending a member to a 3-day conference. That's $300 in per diems potentially. Where does that stuff? I don't see where that goes in here. I see salaries are accounted for, But I mean, there's $750 or $775 of a $1,500 budget that's being spent today, which means like if we're attending any of the conferences,
Mhm.
we're done.
Member
I don't
Sweeney,
see
you look
that.
Like you wanted to speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. We should have the discipline of accuracy, but I think if to the extent that this is based on previous experience, I don't think members are consistent in putting in mileage and lunch and the rest of the stuff. So I think that's just kind of what it's been in the past. It's like a placeholder.
I'll share how we got here. We used to have a ground up budget, and Warren, you'd be familiar with this with when we were under Orangeville Police. And that budget was essentially, it's strange, but it was dictated to council. It was a tell, this is what we're spending. And it was significant because it had legal fees and trips and salaries, and it was massive. This one's much smaller because it really covers off our board. There's unique things in there that are surprising. There was nowhere to put some of the old pension amounts, of benefit amounts. That's actually in here. And why it's here is because a business closed and there was nowhere else within the town budget to put it. So it's actually in this document. There was estimates that were given on what we thought we would spend because it's now in this new format. So I think after we actualize this year, we'll have a better idea of what we'll put in for next year. But that's kind of how we got here. So it's a loose, the bottom right number is firm. I'm comfortable with that bottom right number. The documentation in between in terms of what are the inputs, I think we could be very critical of what I put in there, and there's holes in there for sure, but the bottom right number is solid. Does that make sense to everybody?
It does. It's just, again, I'm again, sorry for the governance point of view. I mean, like, if we have a per diem, like I don't even see anything in here to cover per diems. Like,
Yeah.
but salaries is accounted for to 100%.
It
Right.
would roll up underneath there for sure, because like I would say my salary is relatively consistent.
Yeah.
Whereas Mary Lou's would go up and down on
So-
a month-to-month basis.
Okay.
Depending upon how much we utilize her. Your salary is consistent.
Yeah. So is that how you build the budget out? Like I looked at the monthlies from there as well. Is that building it? Is that based on the fixed agreed salaries, or is
That's
that
based on the fixed portion, which is true. And then it's estimated
okay?
for, yeah,
So maybe we could learn for next year, and we could do that. Like there's a guaranteed expense, like salaries of members are locked. And then a
yes.
separate line item, just
The-
like that transparency part.
I hear you.
But I don't think the salaries are locked, right? Because they ebb and flow based on the hourly requirements of resources like Mary
Right,
Lou
there
or-
are 5 or 6 fixed salaries, and then there's variable salaries. We should almost separate those.
We could. What we could do in the back half, so there's gonna be pressure on us from Jordan, who's in our clerk's department, to say, okay, what are you gonna spend again? And I'll try and get ahead of that. So we're gonna end up having that
And
discussion.
happy to help on that.
Probably
Yeah.
in June, because they'll have to lay it all out for the budget for council in the fall. And we could make those adjustments, but just be clear, I think on the salaries, the interesting piece is, yes, all of us are very easy to grasp of what we're gonna be paid. We had to make a consultant's agreement with the person who does our board materials, right?
Yeah.
And why we did that was because the role that we signed her up to do was not, the role got larger. And so it's sort of an unknown what it's actually going to be. And so back to my commentary earlier, I think we'll have a better idea next year of what that salary is going to be, because we'll have put it in. And then candidly, we've been getting freebies. You know, Mary Lou's so kind to the board. She doesn't always put in all of her things. And we've been encouraging her to put in what it truly is. You should be paid for the work that you're doing. And that's happening too. So that's why it's looking a little bit unclear.
And I think that's all it is. It's probably not looking to grow the number out, but also making sure that we really account. And if we choose to move numbers around throughout the year, that's fine. Just making sure that it's called out so there's very clear, like, and thoughtful planning going forward. So if we do want to attend 3 conferences here and you want to go and you want to go, according to this, we have $1,500 to do that.
Yeah,
So I think there's that little bit of forecasting, and if it's a trial and error, then it's trial and error, but there's probably an opportunity to expand some of this even to some subcategories, just to give us that knowledge base, but also to make sure that it's clear to certain individuals, like, look, there's money to put that there, like, we have this design to spend for this for the benefit of it, but there's also transparency for the board and ultimately taxpayer.
well, what we have done, and it's great, these are great call outs. What we've done in the past is it's been me with the town of Orangeville knocking this around. I think as I say, I think we'll be better as we go forward, but it'd be great if you could join me in a prelim meeting with the town. And why we would want to do that is we'll sort of set it up as best we can, and then we'll come to the board and the board will make it right and true. And then we'll flip that back. And I just need to get the timeline. Like, I don't know when you and I would have to meet. Do we have to meet in May? Like, it literally backs up that far because then it has to go to council and it has to be part of that.
Yeah, and I don't think the comment for me is I'm making is to try and get a bigger number. I think it's just to have more discipline around what the numbers and making sure it's accounted in the right.
If it's 100,000, you're not asking for 110.
No,
you're asking for the buckets to be laid out the proper way.
But I also want to be able to turn around and say, if we do want to attend 3 or 4 conferences, or we want 3 members to go, like, think of it this way, if the 3 members actually attended, we would be materially over our budgeted amount for conferences right this second, according to the way we've laid it out.
Potentially. I think what would happen is we would have to make decisions later in the year.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm happy to step in and help on that one.
Okay, that'd be great. I'll get the timelines from Jordan and we'll come back. Member McSweeney?
Yeah, so I agree with all of that. I think we've taken great pains to be transparent in our reporting to the public about our special remuneration and about our Mary Lou's work that she does on her special projects, including a semi-annual report on those things. I think applying that same transparency standard to the budget, it'd be very helpful to see what's, to telescope down a little bit, open up these categories. Salaries, I'm just sort of guessing, Todd, like we all get $6,000 a year times 5. And then, so that 54,000 number includes that, plus our special $100 per diem or remuneration when we do those special things, plus Mary Lou's salary and her special projects, and then expenses. That's what that number is. I think it's great just to itemize that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'd love the second set of eyes, so happy to do it. Okay, great. So I've made note of that, Grant, and I'll come back to the board. So we'll receive this document for now, 11/21. Do we need to extend that a little bit more and say instructions for Todd to come back with timelines? And no, you're saying no, you're saying yes. Do we want to just, maybe we should.
Well,
budgeting's a normal process.
Yeah.
So we have a budget process.
We're fine tuning it.
And I don't think that's a board mandated. I think ultimately, as we inform the budget and this committee approves it, we can provide that input of how we got there.
Okay, that's great. So a motion to receive this document. Warren and Grant, thank you. All in favor? Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So 11/22, it's the OPP Detachment Board naming. This is on page 45, and
I'll turn it. Talk to that if you want.
I'll turn it to Member McSweeney.
Okay, so this is just really for the board's recollection and information. This was the second notification that was sent out by the OAPSB, wanting to remind boards to name themselves properly in accordance with a convention that is in the process of still being developed. And they suggested that boards do that by bylaw. We did that in November. That's our bylaw number 3. So we're good to go. We're compliant. We have been since November with this direction. But because they sent out a second notification, I just wanted to make sure that the board was brought up to date.
That's great. Any comments or questions for Member McSweeney? No? Okay, seeing none, motion to receive this report. Grant and Mayor Post, thank you both. All in favor? Yes, so that passes. 11/23 is the Dufferin OPP Detachment Board Chairs and Vice Chairs meeting. So this is booked for May 28th. I am not able to attend live. I actually organized the darn thing and then I got voted out on the date. So I said, okay, great, I can't chair it. We'll need somebody else to do it. But Member McSweeney, you are going to join. on behalf of our board and,
Briefly.
okay. All the Dufferin boards, yeah. Yeah. So this is happening and you're okay to briefly,
Well, I don't know. I mean, sorry, just, I hate to do this real time, but.
no, let's do this. Is
What's the
there,
date? May?
28th is my understanding.
Yeah, I've got a hearing that begins at
Okay.
around 9:30, so I'll join for as long as I can.
What,
I'll be in Toronto. No, I'll be in Toronto.
no.
This is
This meeting.
virtual, yeah. This is virtual. Yeah.
What time is this meeting at, Ian? Do you have it in your calendar?
Put it in as all day, which a bit of a hole. I don't know. I think it's first thing. I think, Mike, I think you're going. I think it's 8 o'clock. That's my recollection.
Inspector, do you have this in your
Yeah.
calendar?
It is May 28th. And I've got it from 9 to 10 in the morning. Actually have it as a virtual meeting.
Okay.
So I'll be there for half an hour.
Okay.
But if if others are joining, that'd be great.
Would any other board members like to attend this meeting on May 28th virtually? Okay. You can join? Warren, that's one of your favorite things, virtual meetings.
Mike, I don't seem to have a calendar entry. I can tell I've done it myself. Did you receive a Zoom or?
I
MS
did. I
Teams?
can share it with you.
That would be great.
Could you also share it with Jacqueline Weatherby?
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll do that right now.
Thank you very much, Inspector.
And Mr. Chair, the other thing I just wanted to get an update on, Mike, from Mike had sent around an email, which was very helpful, just indicating that of the 4 Dufferin County OPP detachment boards, just sharing who the incumbents were of the chair, vice chair positions. So it looked like Shelburne was done, Orangeville was done, Melanchthon, Mulmer and Mono done. Southwest, which is Amaranth, Grand Valley, and East Scariffraxa. The chair, James Jonker, but I think, Mike, the vice chair position was still vacant. Is that still your understanding?
Yes, that's correct. It's still vacant.
Okay. Did you
So-
want to go and take that role on as well?
Not today.
Okay. So we've got Weatherby and McSweeney attending. Thank you very much to both of you. A motion to receive this update. Grant, myself, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. 11:24, brief update on Optimus Respect for Law meeting. At that meeting, we had members of the inspector's team come and they talked about the polar plunge, which my understanding had raised $26,000 at that time. Our friend, Member McSweeney, also gave a talk on police services boards and general governance, which was really well received. It was deep and
It was
thorough, as you can imagine. And the inspector attended and was part of the Optimus Frivolity. So it was a wonderful evening for all. Kudos to you and your team, Inspector, for all the work that's done on the polar plunge. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. Unfortunately, and all thanks to Constable Jeff McLean, unfortunately, we weren't able to actually have an event, but hopefully it'll be bigger and better next year.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, it was due to storm. Yeah. Okay, so motion to receive that information as well. 11:24. Warren and Grant, all in favor? Thank you. This is the OPSB remuneration summary. Basically, it was completed at the last January board meeting. It was shared but not included on a report to council. It was determined that there was no benefit in doing so. So staff have it. And just to share, it will be status quo. So there really isn't any sense in the board pushing it, but it was shared. It's information that's in their hands, and we followed through and did, as a board, we followed through and did what we were supposed to do, but that's where it's going to sit. Okay, any comments or questions on that?
Just,
Member
the OAPSB is doing its job. It's collecting information and sharing this kind of information with other boards, which is important because regionally, there's quite a bit of difference between
There is.
the municipalities or the regions and how they pay their boards traditionally and currently. And so this kind of activity by the OAPSB is very helpful.
Okay, very good. Motion to receive that report on the OASB remuneration survey. Mayor Post. Grant, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. So this next one, 1126, it's on page 47 in the documentation. It is board efficiencies. And it's called the 10-point guide, but basically this came out of consultations with Mary Lou and on the best way to ensure that we were efficient as a board and moving forward. So that documentation is there for your review. Is there anything in that report that people would like to focus in on and discuss? Member McSweeney, did you were?
No, I mean, I think.
Oh, okay.
We've all read it, but just
Yeah.
the other to do, we want to capture this, and it's kind of an email format now.
It is.
I'd like to capture it in a board policy, so it would be D3, whatever the next one on our list is, attach it as part of our governance material so we don't lose it.
So could we task someone with doing that? And no offense, perhaps it's outside of you. Would anyone like to write a policy statement?
They're fun.
Grant?
Not volunteering for the record. Look, I think I personally believe that we can policy everything, or we can have some general guidelines and agreements. I think sometimes when you create too many policies, you are over policied and you lose the ability to be maneuverable. So these are some great best practices that we as a board should employ, and I wholeheartedly agree them. The extent to which to make them policy, I'm not sure I'm in agreement with. I think it becomes a point of like moving, like to create a policy that says we need to move to a consent agenda. I don't agree with that statement. That is just good governance of a board chair and members to create an efficient operating model. I'm actually in a disagreement to creating a policy. I think we as members can agree, don't know if it's a motion or that this is best practices and we should include this in any new board members of the future. We should use it as like sticky note inside of our notebooks, but to create a policy over it, I think we're creating a policy for the sake of creating a policy.
So let me try to convince you of this because I am diametrically opposed to
Yes,
that view.
I would imagine.
Especially in an organization like this that has a temporary life before new members are injected or including a complete new slate. I think we need to capture our good ideas in writing for posterity. And the only way of whether we call it guidelines or a policy or whatever, we need to write it down and we need to put it in a central spot where people know it's there and they can refer to it. And so that's why I think it's extremely important that we take our good ideas and make them into policies.
Jacqueline, did you want to weigh in?
I can honestly see it from both perspectives. I think that there's a mix here of operating principles like website as a single source of truth. I'm remembering from our last meeting, which Mary Lou is working on with the town. And then there's engagement expectations, right? Board meetings should advise the chair prior to the meeting if there's something you'd like to discuss, right? So I actually see this as what I was kind of referring to in operationalizing our policies. Like I see this as a mix of a couple of those things. If the board wants a policy, we can write a policy about it. I think it can be a guidance document for how we manage our board. And some of our board accountabilities and expectations, right? So as a board member, you're expected to book your own travel and expenses. So you can see it both ways. I'm not going to die on that hill, but I think they need to be articulated and approved and accepted by this group.
Very good. Mayor Post?
I agree with Ian that I think that we need to formalize some of this. The way that we run meetings should be guided through a procedural document, a procedural bylaw of some sort. It's how we run council meetings. It's how we should run board meetings. For example, the consent agenda component has to be in a procedure somewhere. Otherwise, it just simply wouldn't exist. So I think that that needs to be articulated in a policy or a bylaw or a whatever you want to call it. But I think that process needs to be formalized, much like the timing of meetings. Like, you know, to allow our IT team time, we need to, you know, closed meetings have to be done at 4:45. Like, I think those things need to be articulated because we are people who are sitting here on a temporary basis. We're not here forever. And I think that we have to have some of this. Some of the things that are listed in the board efficiencies document are good guidelines and good practice that I don't think need to be quite as formalized, but some of these components definitely do, especially when we look at things like operational, how we're going to utilize our agenda, how we're going to use, you know, a consent agenda. I think those need to be articulated. And I'm happy to take a first crack at it and let Ian track change me to death, but I'm okay to do that.
Warren, you haven't stated yet.
No, I first of all just wanted to thank you and Mary Lou because something needed to be done. And I think there's a lot of excellent suggestions there. I have no problem creating a policy or whatever, but I think first of all, we probably should try to do some of them and make sure that for the next meeting, we've implemented some of these because it will make things much better.
Grant, did you want to come back?
So I'll kind of maybe go halfway with my original comment. I do agree that there are probably 1 or 2 points in here that, to your point, the consent agenda. Again, I can understand some of those parts. I also think there's an opportunity for the chair. You know, I've seen other committees or chair sends an annual letter out of board expectations that forms a permanent part of the record, which future chairs and that can go. I'm trying to think of also ways of not handcuffing us. Again, a policy is something that shall be done.
Yeah.
Very little wiggle room. So if for some reason we need to go to 450, we are now in violation of a policy. So if we want to move a couple of these little things over, sure. But I think the rest of them, it just, you know, more policy creates more handcuffing, and that can sometimes stifle the ability for the board to be efficient.
I think that's a very fair argument. That would be connected to what my concern was.
Although you can make a policy flexible. I mean, I'm just concerned about getting it written for posterity, right? So that we don't swing around. We've done all this great work. We're happy with the way things are running, and you swing around to a new board, and sure, we've got a great set of documents in place to act as the orientation base, but why not include everything? Why have something missing, even if it's somewhat redundant? And it would be somewhat redundant because I've already embedded some of this stuff in 2 of other policies, but I think there's a lot to be said to be able to go to a document and say, aha, like this is the overview.
I'll leave it as whatever the board chooses to do. My last recommendation would be make it for posterity purposes, very similar to how they do in government. Love to see a mandate letter from the chair to the board. These are my expectations of how you operate. These are expectations that we do. They're up for discussion. They're my expectations, but they're not rules. So they're documented. Yeah. So it would be the chair issuing. No, we can help you write it. But it would be Warren will write. And then it become the chair say, this is my expectations of the operations of this board, which include making sure blah, 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 blah. And that creates a record, but it's also non-binding to if that we need to, you know, if you want, I think one of the things is move to annual claims. Well, guess what? There might be a situation where an individual needs a mid-year. If it's a policy, needs the board to approve. If it's a mandate, it's very flexible. So I think this is something that you could accommodate both.
Yeah.
Without having to add the rigidity of that. And you just take that as good governance to be every year. I'm going to set out when I get elected, whoever the new chair is, will set up my expectations for the board for the next year. So that will be the last I say on that.
So to summarize, we've got sort of 2 different paths we can take. We do have a volunteer who said that they would attempt to write it. I think that was you.
I can too.
Yeah. Did you say? Yeah. Warren, did you say you wanted to write it, or did I miss? Okay, so we have Mayor Post who said that she'll take a chop at it, so that's great. So I think that's part 1. Part 2 is the consent agenda, I know everybody's concerned about time and the amount of time spent. There's a couple of ifs here. We could go to consent agenda for the next meeting if in our pre-meeting, we change the way this document is written, right? And that is putting the preambles into the writing so that there's a little bit of a report and then you can make a decision. Whereas right now you can't make a decision based on the consent agenda. So I think it'll be easy to do.
Easy to do because we kind of do it anyway and then just don't, you know, sometimes we put it in, sometimes we don't, but it'd be very easy to do.
Okay, so could we also make as part of this that we will move to a consent agenda for the next meeting? And the group, including Warren, will write, sorry, I'm getting all excited here, will write what that will be prior to. And so there's two things going on. One is Mayor Post is writing her piece, and two is 4 of us, including Mary Lou, will write the agenda in a different fashion than what we've got here today. Grant, did you want to weigh in?
And just as a call out, I mean, like for clarity, a consent agenda is if everybody agrees that like it's anything that we've written down as a verbal update, that could be, you know, instead of a speech, it could be an email, for lack of a better term, then it can be documented there. But if we will all reserve the right that if we want to like pull out during the meeting, is there anything, everyone agree to the consent? No, I don't agree to point 11 or 1.2. I want to discuss it, that we can pull it out. We can discuss that. So I mean, we're not losing that ability to discuss it, but things like we're having a meeting on May 28th doesn't become a.
You're saying exactly the way it would go. You'd only pull out the items that someone wanted to speak to. I've seen it where people share ahead of time. The county's just going to this now and they've asked for what agenda items do you want to pull ahead of time? And I think they're just doing it because it's new. At this council, we do it live.
Yeah.
And we pull out in front. And so, you know, you could be a good person and let them know ahead of time, but the reality is it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I've seen, we've employed at our board for our trust. We've moved to a consent agenda for a number of things and it doesn't change like sometimes it changes the length of the meeting, but it allows you to actually spend more time. You know, you don't get tired by point number 24. You actually decide to discuss 10, but much more in detail.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to, so I'm very much in favor of that.
Are you wanting to weigh in? No, you're happy? Okay, so there's two different things going on here. One is an emotion. We're having Mayor Post write up a kind of a summary for us to review. And two is we are moving to a consent agenda for the next meeting. Okay, and that's the motion that's on the table.
Can I just go ahead, Lisa. Oh, so just thinking about our meeting, we have traditionally you, Mary Lou and I with prep ahead of it.
Well,
and
now Warren.
Okay, and now Warren, but not Grant.
No, he didn't volunteer.
Okay.
Just Warren.
Okay, so it's just like,
yeah,
three or four people drafting is a lot different than 2. So that I'm trying to make that meeting less painful. I was going to suggest that we prepare a draft and then.
So the way the meeting will work is, again, it'll be the same. So I'll send out a note. Hey, any topics? I'll put together the topics. I'll send it to Mary Lou. Mary Lou will write up her brief thing that is not ready for prime time. Then we get together and we review it.
The we being including Warren.
Including Warren. Okay. And in that, we will change the way we write the agenda. And so that first meeting, we usually book an hour. It might take a little bit more time than an hour on the first time we do it. I love that idea. I've never seen somebody move through stuff as fast as Mr. Maycock does.
Sorry to be a stickler.
Yeah, go ahead, Grant.
But again, where are you getting that feedback? So again, let's say there's a meeting, next meeting, Jacqueline's got an update on something. Where are you going to ask for that verbiage? You're going to send that in that email that you send out calling for action items?
So I do now, right? Agenda items.
You're going to do it in there. Okay.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll give me enough information back. But candidly, most times I get crickets, right? So it's me putting it together.
So I think what Mayor Post will be working on is this. Basically, we're talking about ways of working, right? How is the board going to work? We're going to send out the email on this day. We're going to solicit agenda item feedback. No.
Is working on the 11-point thing, the letter that Todd's sending out.
Yeah.
That, yeah, I think that's what I was just saying, right? It's like, you know, there's 30 days in a month. What are those that follow? So, which is great. I think we need that. I think prior, we talked about what it is we would be working on as a board, right? Like that was the point that I was raising. We have the governance policy, but, you know, respectfully, is International Women's Day community, like, is that even part of our mandate, right? Is that something we should be focusing on as a OP? And that's where I think we need to ground ourselves in the intention of areas of focus. So what we're going to work on, and we have our strategic plan, we have all these other components that feed into that. How does it loop into community outreach and the right informs? So town inform, right, to notify OPP. And then what Lisa's going to work on, I think to me sounds how we're going to do that, how the board is going to do that. One of the biggest barriers that I have as a board member to staying engaged is technology. So we want to communicate through town properties. I don't have town technology
readily available.
right. And so I use my personal devices. I've purchased personal devices to do this, and I've tried to use my own corporate devices. I get kicked out all the time. I can't get back into my email. I email someone at the town. I have to get my email reset. Like, it's just really, really inefficient, and I don't want to spend any money. So that's not what I'm like, and any of the town's money. I'm just explaining that this is my barrier to entry as a board member. We don't have to solve it here, but I want to follow what Lisa will be setting out, and I'm finding this to be difficult from a technology perspective.
Well,
And I think it's different, for the experience is different. The only reason I say it is because, like, for example, you would be working more regularly on town activities in your capacity as a counselor and that sort of thing. So when we're comfortable with communicating via my personal email, I can be much more responsive. I can be much faster. With town, it's like a completely separate. Well, I have. So my devices restrict me from being logged into those town properties continuously. So even on a personal device, right? Because I'm not using my town email every day, an iPhone won't then detect incoming mail after 3 days from the last time you've gone into that. So I'm not getting a notification that Lisa's emailed me about X. So yeah, I think just, and if it means I need a town computer, I can't imagine that's the answer, but I need help with that, because that's my barrier to entry on being engaged every day as this.
Yeah. So I'll second that. I didn't have a personal computer. I purchased a computer to support this because I can't use my work one. VPNs kick out. I have a secondary phone. VPN kicks out. I have to actively go into it. Why I'm not as responsive, because I have to go get my mail rather than mail saying Todd's emailed you.
Exactly.
But I went out and again, I'm not asking for the mail. I went out and spent $2,000 on a device to be able to do the work here, because I can't use my secure laptop from work, and we don't have a house computer. So just, many other organizations will, especially when you're mandating a email. So if I could use my personal, it would have been an issue, at least on my personal email, but having to use another device and a controlled device and a secure device, I think in future boards, the town may, especially if it's a town email, a town asset as a computer will help. But I mean, there's an investment for people that want to be part of this board to help and to support. There's a financial investment in it as well. Not looking for the money back for you to clear that, but I agree. It's a difficult thing for me to action. It's something I have to actively go look for rather than be able to have a computer open on my desk getting emails.
Yeah. And this, while I agree with this process, it does require more continuous engagement than pre-reading, board meeting, governing, right? This is operating.
I don't know how you get around it.
I don't know either. I'm just explaining what I'm worried about. That's all.
Or you need scheduled meetings. That's the other, I think we had this discussion last time about, and then we don't all want that, nor do we want to, but if this is the only scheduled meeting that I have, I then have to go a couple weeks before, and I start looking a couple days before, and I start working. I don't have the prompts that I would in other type of employment, that or this regular schedule. We go 3 to 4 months between meetings.
Jerry, I hate to be on the spot.
Personal
Can we
email
use
is-
personal emails at this point, or is
That's
that,
the only thing I use it for.
it's a policy that we have to have the Orangeville? Yeah, so is that something you want to talk to? Like, will you do that? Sorry?
But I think it's,
Yeah,
when do we have this chat afterwards?
sorry, who are we having a chat with?
Just.
I think anybody who's having issues with technology needs to work with the town IT team to get that figured out. I'm sure that Jerry and the team can help. You know, there are some of us who do utilize our personal devices. Like my phone is a personal device and I have no issues with town email, but Jerry helped me set it up and it works fine. So I think that there's a feasibility of it working. I think that we just need to coordinate time with the IT team to make that happen. And I don't think that that will stop us from being a more efficient board. And I think that there are additional policies and things that we can create to ensure that our meetings run more seamlessly, that don't reflect what technology you have.
So that'll be an offline discussion, but to pass this motion now, did you want to weigh in? Sorry.
Well,
Just trying to
I
close
just,
it up.
I'm confused. If you're not confused, then I'll let it go, but I'm confused as to what Lisa's doing.
I am going to take the board efficiencies list that Chair Taylor had in the agenda and that Mary Lou had helped to draft, and I will turn that into a procedural bylaw or policy or whatever you want to call it of how meetings will run, that we can articulate some of those key points. I can also put together a little list of board member expectations that come out of that wouldn't be necessarily a policy, but would be best practices that then you can have kind of two separate guiding documents, one that would actually be a policy and one that would be more of guidelines.
And then the secondary piece to that is that the board has agreed to move to consent agenda for the.
Which would be in that policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for future, we might take what Lisa's done when we see it, and we might just blend that into our meeting service standards, since it's an
be,
existing policy.
yeah.
And there might be some overlap, so you might want to have that beside you when you're doing it. I know it'll be tight.
Okay, so that's the motion that's on the floor. Grant, you look totally unimpressed. Did you want to talk further? Okay, you're good? Okay, so that's the motion that's on the floor. Who's making this? Are you going to make this?
Sure.
Okay, so Mayor Post is making this. Grant, you're going to second it. Thank you for that. All in favor? Yes, so that was good. Item 12, which is on page 48, is adoption of the minutes from the last regular public meeting. Any comments or questions on this? None? Ian, you're going to make that motion? Warren, you're going to second it? Thank you very much. All in favor? Yes. Correspondence, there is none. New business. Just before we get into new business, if we could, there was one miss, and Jacqueline reminded me of it, and that is Rotary Park safety. Could we add 14.3 at this late juncture to new business for Rotary Park safety? Everybody okay with that? Okay, so we'll do that. So 14.1.
I can speak to that if you want, Mr. Chair.
That would be great. Inspector General, Municipal Policy Service Board policy on critical points. Member McSweeney.
So the Inspector General produced this bulletin number 3 and circulated it on March 20th. And it's really, it's a kind of was a project in the works, dormant and active at various times, arising out of the Morden report, which is a 2012 report that made a bunch of recommendations around critical point governance. So the only reason we added it to this agenda was just to make it clear that this is directed towards municipal police services boards, not OPP detachment boards. So it's of interest only.
Okay. Very good. So I don't think there's anything for us to do other than to receive that report. Ian, you're going to make that motion. Grant is going to second. All in favor? Thank you. And so then that leads us to 14.2, which is the new town procedure, which is the documentation we all have. But Jordan will speak to this at the May 20th meeting, is my understanding. Okay, so there's nothing to do there. We will just skip that and know that it'll be on the next agenda for us. And that brings us to our new 14.3, which is Rotary Park safety. Jacqueline, did you want to talk to this at all?
Sure. I sent a letter to Mayor Post a couple of weeks ago on this topic, and I think just an update since then. The letter was issued on behalf of the board of the Orangeville Tennis Club on some safety concerns that had been raised in our prior season, so last summer. Thankfully, the sun has started shining. Unfortunately, some of the issues have started again. And I think the concern I just wanted to add to, what was explained to Mayor Post and then shared with the inspector in the letter is that the community group that seems to be causing a lot of these issues, it's a repeat group of people, which is making individuals who work at the club regularly concerned about bringing forward their concerns. And I think it's, a bit of a community relationship building exercise that can occur. But I just wanted to throw that on the table as sort of, it hasn't changed, I guess, since last summer. Anyway, anything that the town or the OPP detachment can do to help the board understand how to manage it and also respond to it would be of great importance to the membership. So that's where that came from.
Inspector, did you want to weigh in on that?
Absolutely, thanks. So from our perspective, we are setting up a focus patrol during the summer months for the officers, and there will be special attention to that address at particular days of the week and times of the days based on a data analysis that our operational analyst participated in. And we've also offered someone with our community response unit and auxiliary unit to help out with crime prevention through environment design. And like anything else, we need the public to help us out. So I would certainly encourage that we look at doing some public engagement where our members in the community are the eyes and ears for the community. And we are a part of that, and we all have a responsibility as well to keep each other safe.
Okay. Mayor Post, did you have anything further to add? No. Okay. Very good. Member Weatherby, are you okay with that for now? Okay. Very good. Okay, thank you for that. I think there's anything to do on new business in terms of receiving. So item 15 is just the next meeting is May 20th, and looking for a motion to adjourn. Warren, I'm not surprised. Grant, thank you very much. All in favor? Yes. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned at 6:42.